and I made an album. Like when I made my album, before I played
I see the smile. I see the smile.
before I played it to anyone, I was like, I made a fucking album. I was so proud of myself.
The first question I wanted to ask you is, do you have like a memory from growing up where you knew you were going to be a musician?
Yeah, so my dad loves music and we just listen to lots of music. I think because I'm from quite contrasting backgrounds, music is a language that I think, you know, regardless of who you are and where you come from, you can speak, and it kind of breaks down boundaries and borders. And yeah, I used to just, it was the way I communicated with my dad a lot of the time, you know. We communicated with affection, but we also communicated with music and sharing music with one another and albums and stuff like that.
It was like a B2B DJ set back home, like, okay, I got this record, I want to make it. All right.
It was literally B2B, but not even at home, we do it in the car.
All right.
Which is the car that I drive now, French car, Peugeot. Great sound system inside. And I would buy an album and he would buy an album and we would just listen to albums all the time.
Right.
We never did shuffle or anything like that. It was just always albums. I remember listening to a band called ESG, which were like a South Bronx band. And finding out that all their records were produced by the same producer as like Joy Division. And that was crazy to me because you would never associate Joy Division with ESG, but actually there's a bridge there. And then when I found that out, it more made sense in my head, and how there's like this, how post-punk is informed by rock and punk and bands like Joy Division, and it just kind of, you know, finding those gaps and voids and bridges was really interesting for me.
So in fact, this Peugeot car was kind of your music university, like you were like studying everything inside of that car.
Now I drive the Peugeot. So there's a really weird memory that I always have, and I always drive past this, there's like a, what do you call it when it's like a highway kind of thing?
Yeah. Okay.
Like a, what do you call
Un
that?
déchangeur.
Yeah, like, it's like a ramp.
Okay.
Right, there's a ramp in South London, on Old Kent Road. And I don't know why, but my strongest memory is listening to The Streets, Original Pirate Material, on that ramp.
How's it come to this? Original Pirate Material, you're listening to The Streets.
I think with the roof down, because it's a Peugeot 206. And I don't know why that is like one of the strongest memories I have, but that experience of going over that ramp and listening to The Streets, it just felt so correct. Like it felt like a movie almost, and that is one really strong experience. Every time I have to drive that ramp all the time to get to the rest of South London, and I'm always thinking of that memory of my dad. But there's another one, we were in a place called Camberwell, which again is kind of like, it's in South London, but there are hills in Camberwell. And we were listening, well, we got in the car and he goes to me, you have to listen to this. And I was like, I always listen. He was like, no, you have to listen to this. And he put on a Pakistani artist called Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan. I was 14 and the roof was down. It was a hot day as well. And I felt like the most pure euphoria. We used to listen to like Led Zeppelin. I was at a period where I wouldn't take my Led Zeppelin t-shirt off. His ex-girlfriend showed me Gorillaz and she had a Mini Cooper, and all I can think about is going on roundabouts in her Mini Cooper, listening to Gorillaz and being like, whoa, this is insane. And then obviously Damon Albarn had a new band called The Good, The Bad and The Queen with Tony Allen.
Come a day, you see the sun, hit the arch, a history song.
That record we would listen
one.
to, yeah,
Of course.
with the song History Song on it. I love that song. So we listened to that and I was like obsessed with that record. And that's where I learnt about Tony Allen, but I'd obviously known about Fela Kuti, but I just didn't know Tony Allen's name and how they were like a super band with like Paul Simon and Mick Jones and everyone. And I love The Clash. Listen to like every Clash record there is. I I remember him playing me the Clash's first album and saying like, every song is 2 minutes long. Think about that. He said, yes, it's a punk record, but it's a pop record. And I was like, what do you mean? He was like, if you can say everything in 2 minutes, it's a pop record. And I'm like, okay. And remember listening to that and being like, in the car. But everything was in the car. It's funny, my Peugeot is like the university. A lot of people say, why don't you get a nicer car? And they don't realise that that car is probably quite a important like treasure for me.
Shoulder to shoulder, smile with the bricks sunshine. But you weren't that kind when you were mine. Jadey and Cola, don't even have to try. But you weren't that guy when you were mine.
I think I am a product of South London, and I think that South London has definitely informed who I am, but clearly so have Ramps. So like it's really hard to pin everything down to one place. I think that I'm more than just one place or two cultures or two heritages or two bloodlines. I think that like so many things affect me and I notice everything. I had a translator today, and instead of using the word love, he would draw love hearts. And just on every single piece of paper he was translating on, he had love hearts all over them. And at the end I said, I like that you draw love hearts everywhere. And I don't think he thought I would realise that. But there's just loads of little things that I pick up on. And I think it's amazing because it feeds into my music, and it's almost like you called the Peugeot University of music, when sometimes it feels like my brain is just a subconscious trolley picking up random shit and hoping that someday I'll be able to
Looking
make
for books like
yeah. Or
really
just
high
like, you
in
know
the-
when you like go down like a residential street and you find like some shit like lamp, and then you find some records and you find this and that. It just feels like I just pick up lots of things, and I guess that is just memory, and that becomes the canvas to the music that I make.
Okay. And isn't that a bit overwhelming, like, because you seem to have so much respect for the music itself, for the people who made it, that wasn't it like difficult like to start?
It's not even at the beginning. I feel it all the time.
Okay.
I have like very bad, I guess every artist has it, but when I have writer's block, I feel like my life is ending. Like the most depressed I've been as an adult is with writer's block. When that doesn't come out, and I start comparing myself to other people and then going, you're never going to be as good as this, you're never going to be as good as that. I set my standards so high that it really, like, mentally has a massive toll on me. And it sounds pathetic to say it out loud, but other artists understand. When I speak to other artists, they really understand. But the most pain, maybe not the most pain, but a lot of pain in my adult life has been from writer's block. Because when you're a child, you don't have the same emotional intelligence and you don't dissect everything the way you do as an adult. And I started writing as a child. I wrote innocently, and now it is my job. And now people care. And now I've written really good songs, and I intend to write more. But there is always a part of you in your head that's like, I'm never going to write a good song again. It's never going to happen. My time is over. Which sounds ridiculous to say out loud, but it is genuinely a fear that I have.
Underneath the southeast sky, I asked you for a light. Now I do anything.
Creating music seems kind of spiritual to you. There is no place for like hesitating. Failing is okay, but it's like, I know where I'm going since the beginning.
If I'm not working, I feel like I'm not making the most out of my life. And I only have one life. And that doesn't mean I don't have fun, because I have so much fun. Especially when you get in a rhythm of it and you reap the rewards, but not only the obvious signs of success, not the nominations and this, that, the other. It's like, oh, I'm becoming the person I wanted to become, right? And that's like the best feeling in the world. And I made an album. Like when I made my album, before I played
I see the smile.
before I played it to anyone, I was like, I made a fucking album. I was so proud of myself, and I was like, you fucking did what you said you would do. But these are promises I make to myself that don't involve my family, that don't involve... It's very much something that I've had as a part of my personality since I was a child, you know. I'm a little bit obsessive.
No.
And and I think that's okay, because actually I feel quite fulfilled. And when I get to have fun, I have so much fun. I'm like an all or nothing person. And when I'm nothing, or when I'm like done with something, I'm absolutely finished. It's done. People ask me why I don't take my YouTube videos down from when I was 14, 15, because that was my best. When you know that you've done your best, that's when you put it down. When you do exams in school and you fucking know that you didn't get the right answer, but you tried your best and you showed all of the markings, okay, maybe I'll get a point for that, maybe I tried my best. That's when I give up. Not give up, when I put it down. And when you get to work with people that tell you that's enough as well, that's incredible. And with the album, my producer and I were like, that's it. That's the best we can do.
And I think mistakes are part of the music itself.
Oh, there's a huge
Like
mistake. There's actual mistakes in the music.
Of course.
No, as in like that, we kept them in. Like in Feet Don't Fail Me Now, no one ever realizes it, but it sounds like the guitar and bass are doing the same riff. If you listen to the guitar, it just does some fucking random, completely off key, completely the wrong notes. But we were like, yeah. Blue was like, keep it in. I said, but that is literally the wrong notes. Like it's not even right.
I'm keeping up appearances, the dark side of my privilege.
This is why it's human-made music. I mean,
It's like human, yeah. And I have an issue with, okay, we call it like God's work. I'm not going to name names, but like in industry and in music where it feels like they're doing God's work, you know, we're here to like spread the word of music, you know. They take themselves really seriously. And I'm like, where's the human element of that when you think you're above everyone else? Like the beauty is actually being on the ground. I fucking love being on the ground. And I love making mistakes because it makes me forgive my 15-year-old self. It makes me forgive probably who I am today in a couple more years' time. I'm obsessive, but I'm not a perfectionist. I've never been a perfectionist. And I'm completely okay with that. And I would rather be the person that did it wrong sometimes than try to make it right all the time. I make shit songs all the time. Like, I write like quite bad things sometimes, like, and it's really, they're just as important as the good songs, you know. So that element of mistake as well in the process is what makes it not God's work. It makes it like you said, actual craft, like getting it wrong so many times before you can get it even just a little bit right. Yeah.
And you were also talking about the fact that for now that you are creating music, you know that people are looking at you, like they're staring, like, okay, there is something new coming out. Do you feel nowadays like a kind of responsibility about that? I mean, in my opinion, like a mic has always been a responsibility.
You know when you cook alone and then you cook when your friends are in your house? You cook better when your friends are in your house, right? Because there's an element of performance and because the margin of you fucking up is smaller, right? Because you're like, my friends are here, like I need to cook with love. Like, you're always going to do things, not necessarily always better, but when you have to perform, because people are watching, generally you're going to do things better. Does that make sense?
Of course, perfectly.
You know, like, if I'm singing in a vocal booth and it's just my producer and I, there's more margin for me to be a bit lazy or fuck up or this, that. As soon as someone walks into the room, like, there's something about me that's like, okay, no, I need to just like... And I don't notice it consciously, but it's a bit like when you're listening to your favourite song and you show it to your friend and it's like you hear it for the first time. Performance. You're almost performing. Even though it's a song that you're showing your friend, you're like, well, I hope that they know how good this is, because when I listen to it on my own, I know it's really good. But now I suddenly feel like my palms are sweaty and like, oh my God, is this going to be as... And I think actually when people watch and you know that people are waiting and people are watching, it can almost make you better. Even though the fall can be harder if you do mess up, that pressure is actually kind of exciting. You know? You're either going to cook the best pasta or it's going to be shit, but you know, you try harder. So I think it's actually kind of, I don't think it's a responsibility, I just think it's interesting how mentally or psychologically you change when people are watching.
Don't make a sound. Feel
beauty of music, though. Like, we all have those artists that have helped us, and solace is one of the most pure medicines. And if I am that to people, then amazing, and if I'm not, that's fine, someone else will find that. But it's not the reason why I do music, but it's amazing that it has the power to do that. And I have that with a few artists that just make me feel heard and seen. And it's amazing that with our voices, no pun intended, we can give each other or others around us voices as well, without them even having to open their mouths.